So we all know why Dragon Ball is so popular. You have badass fights, cool power-ups, and great villains. In my opinion, a Dragon Ball arc or movie is only as good as its villains. So that is what we're going to talk about today. We are going to rank every Dragon Ball movie villain ever. There are some really badass ones on this list, but oh god, there are some villains that are just terrible. So without further ado, let's get it. Number 1, King Kasper. In general, this whole movie sucks. Dragon Ball and the Curse of the Blood Rubies is just a retelling of the first time Goku met Bulma and his iconic friends. It has Yamcha in a pretty big role, so you know it's peak content. King Kasper is replacing Emperor Pilaf. If you thought Pilaf was dorky, this dude is just wow. He is just basically a dumb big monster who looks strangely like a more stupid fat final form Pilaf. He is not scary at all, nor interesting. This villain is for sure an F tier character. Number 2, Lucifer. So the villain from the movie Dragon Ball, Sleeping Princess in Devil's Castle, is literally the devil. He actually has a pretty badass design. He looks like a creepy vampire butler. He has a formal suit with a bow tie. His transformation is basically a vampire on steroids. And Lucifer is a bit generic, as he is just an evil dude being evil, but it's still kind of a fun villain. So I'm gonna give it a C tier. Next up, we have Mercenary Tao. So this is a pretty iconic villain from Dragon Ball and made an appearance in the movie Dragon Ball Mystical Adventure. He is one of the best Dragon Ball villains in general, and his design is peak. From flying on a literal tree to his ponytail and that outfit, all around, he's a badass fighter and always gives Goku a run for his money. Tao, we're gonna give you B tier, but on a good day, he could crack the A tier spot no problem. Next up, we have Garlic Jr. I mean, Garlic has always been a mid-tier villain. He literally is just filler, specifically from the movie Dragon Ball Z Dead Zone. For the most part, he is just a pale-looking Piccolo in kid form. His final form, on the other hand, is badass. Important to note is that Garlic Jr. and his entire plan in this movie is so totally stupid. So we're gonna give Garlic Jr. a solid C tier villain. Right in the middle, as always. Coming up, Dr. Wheelo. Now, Dr. Wheelo is just a robot. He's pretty basic and kind of boring. Specifically, he was a mad scientist in Dragon Ball Z, The World's Strongest, who put his brain in a robot and now is hunting down the strongest warrior. Dude is so stupid, he actually kidnaps Master Roshi because he thinks that he is stronger than Goku. Pretty boring design, and honestly, he gets defeated no problem. This for sure is a D tier villain. All right, now to get somewhere interesting. Up next, we have my guy, Turles. Now, we are getting to the good stuff. So the villain from the movie Dragon Ball Z, The Tree of Might, is Turles. He's basically the original Goku Black. He is an evil version of Goku. Turles has a personality that is a combination of Vegeta and Raditz. He's a badass and actually beats Goku pretty badly at the start. Turles eats the fruit of the Tree of Might and becomes OP. So Goku has to fight him, and he still manages to defeat him with a Genkai Dama. Still, his look is so unique, as it was the first time we actually got to see any evil counterpart to one of the main characters in Dragon Ball. So, Turles, you're definitely a B tier villain. All right, time for Lord Slug. This is such a mixed bag villain. The entire movie was so weird. Slug is kind of powerful, but also weak at the same time. The movie sets him up to be almost as strong as Frieza, but come on. Basically, he is Demon King Piccolo who can grow like Ant-Man. Pretty generic stuff, and he gets defeated in the same way as King Piccolo. How original, guys. We're gonna give him D tier. All right, now it's time for a fan favorite. Personally, not one of my favorites, but I could see why some of you might mess with him. And that is Cooler from Cooler's Revenge. Yes, I know this movie is pretty basic, and Cooler is basically just a taller version of Frieza, but that's okay. He kind of looks badass. His final form is one of the coolest villain designs ever. See what I did there? Coolest. His attacks are amazing, with that giant fireball being really iconic. Still, he gets beaten up pretty easily by Super Saiyan Goku. For me, Cooler will always be a B tier villain, just because of the final form that he has. And speaking of Cooler, We also have Metacooler. Yeah, I separated them for this list. So Metacooler from Dragon Ball Z Cooler's Return. Yeah, this design sucks. It's just Cooler in his base form, but metal. Metacooler is using the power of the Big Getty Star to invade Namek. It's pretty awesome that he just creates a literal army of his clones. Vegeta and Goku have to team up to take down this version of Cooler, so he is pretty powerful. For me, I would honestly just give him C tier, just because his design is pretty generic, and also, man looks like a damn shiny Pokemon. Alright, time to get into the androids. So, we have Android 13. Yeah, this one is pretty bad. Android 13 is pretty generic. He's a bad android who is doing evil just for evil's sake. And it also doesn't help that his base form is basically a gas station worker with a shirt on. His final form is pretty cool, but still it doesn't make up for the fact that he is so forgettable. Goku has trouble with this guy as he is a powerhouse in his ultimate form, but like always, Goku and the boys managed to get the win. We're gonna give this dude F tier. Alright, now we have one of my personal favorites. Probably some of you out there as well. Broly, from Broly the Legendary Super Saiyan. I mean, this boy is iconic. Broly is basically the Hulk of the Dragon Ball universe. He screams a lot, he gets stronger, the Z fighters get beaten up. In this movie, he is truly a force of nature, and watching him get bigger and stronger is always fun. With that being said, that scene of Goku crying in the nursery is hilarious because that's literally one of the only reasons this fight is currently happening. Broly could not get over his baby trauma. Still, his iconic design and brutality definitely puts him in A tier. Speaking of beasts, next we have Bojack. Now, Bojack is kind of a badass. He's like Jack Sparrow meets the Hulk. Bojack is just there to be the punching bag for Super Saiyan 2 Gohan, and it's oh so glorious. Design-wise, I would say B tier, but him being kind of a forgettable villain pushes him down to the D tier list for me. And speaking of Broly, who could forget about Bio Broly? Now, this is the worst Dragon Ball version of Broly ever. Broly returns once again, but this time he's a slime monster covered in mud. It's so bad that it hurt my eyes to watch. Bio Broly is definitely an E tier villain. The next villain on our list is Janemba. Now, Janemba remains one of, if not one of the coolest looking villains in all of the Dragon Ball universe. Yeah, he has no personality besides that creepy laugh he does, but he's just a badass. Man is from the movie Fusion Reborn. His entire moveset in Fusion Reborn is so unique with him teleporting everywhere and changing his body. Goku and Vegeta have a lot of trouble with this one, and it seems that Janemba might be one of the most powerful villains they ever had to face. I mean, Janemba manages to fight Gogeta for a while, so that's enough said, he's pretty OP. This is for sure an A tier list villain. Would be S if he actually talked or had any sort of motivation, but A tier is good enough. Next up, we have everyone's favorite beetle, Hirudegan. Now, this one's a little bit confusing. So the villain of this movie is basically a kaiju Godzilla style monster from the movie Dragon Ball Z Wrath of the Dragon. He is an ancient evil being that has now returned to basically destroy Earth, like any other villain. One thing that's really cool about him is he seems like a really unstoppable force in that movie. Yeah, he is just a screaming monster, but it's awesome to see him destroy city after city. The Z fighters just have to save the civilians from this giant monster. And at the end, he shows that he is really powerful as it takes Super Saiyan 3 Goku to defeat him after all the Z fighters try and fail. B tier level villain because his design is awesome and he's pretty cool. Alright, but forget about all these clowns, let's get to the good stuff with everyone's favorite villain, Frieza. Specifically, Golden Frieza from Resurrection F. I mean, this one had to be on the list. This is the ultimate form of Frieza. In the movies, not talking about Black Frieza or Frieza Black, but Golden Frieza. He is as strong as Super Saiyan Blue Goku, and he is ruthless as always. This is the first time Frieza's in a Dragon Ball movie, so this puts him on the top of the list of all the movie villains. Frieza reaches almost god-level powers in this movie, and has one of the most memorable transformation scenes in all the Dragon Ball universe. Definitely an S tier villain. Next, we have one of the best villains in all of Dragon Ball, and honestly one of the best characters period, Beerus from Battle of the Gods. Beerus is so iconic, it's crazy. His power levels are unmatched as he is the literal god of destruction. He's funny, quirky, and that's really what makes him stand out among all the other villains in this list. Also, that design is straight up fire. His giant power levels force Goku to unlock a whole other form, and it still isn't enough, as Beerus was holding back the entire fight and beat the brakes off of Goku. This is actually the only time a villain beats Goku in a movie. The definition of an S-tier villain. And speaking of Super, we gotta return, who could forget about the reboot of Broly? Dragon Ball Super Broly. This feels like the 10th time Broly has been in a movie, but this time it's actually a little bit different. In this Dragon Ball Super movie, it was actually a retelling of Broly in the current Dragon Ball universe. Yeah, he's still a big angry Saiyan, but he actually has more of a story, and you kind of feel some compassion for this version of Broly. Also, it's the first time we see a villain be somewhat redeemed by the end of one of these movies. He is still super powerful, but now he feels much better written. And for that reason, I'm gonna put him over here in A tier. And now we have Cell Max. Now, with the release of Dragon Ball Super Superhero, everybody, myself included, was excited to finally see Gohan get the representation he deserves to become an ultimate badass. And it wasn't bad that Piccolo also got a power-up. But in the movie, we get to fall in love with that demon Cell all over again. I'm gonna put this version of Cell in C tier. And here we have it, folks. This is the ranking for every Dragon Ball movie villain. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. What did you agree with? What didn't you agree with? And don't forget to like, subscribe, and slap the bell notification icon so you never miss another update. Until next time, peace.